So I'm Madazon Can. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I'm going to harken back to my roots, and that is as an elementary school educator. So everybody stay there. Oh, I know. It's awful. It's terrible. Blood flow. Get some blood flowing. That's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to reach up, and we're going to flow, okay, like this. I know this is silly. This is what I do. And then you're going to take all of that wonderful good morning energy and you're going to brush it down, all the way down, all the way down. Touch the ground. Then you're going to jump, 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 jump. Think about. Excellent. Sit down. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me. Flow, blood flow, right? Flow of creativity, flow of thoughts. This is not an easy state to be in. Not just, artistically, but universally. In the world that we're in right now, it's not easy to really exist, especially authentically. There's a lot going against you, and there's a lot of internal turmoil as well. So how I come to a state of flow and how I've come to be this thing happened truly by accident. I didn't mean to all of a sudden wake up and one day be a clown. There was something else that happened, and then I just knew my answer. And I'm going to talk about why this art is so important to me and kind of why I do what I do. Why? So, first off, what happened about 5 years ago is I was doing the thing, right? Got married, getting my degree, doing the thing, going through life, walking through life, doing all the things on the checklist, check, check, check. And then my world was shattered when my husband, now ex-husband, said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. And we're going to get a divorce. And that experience, it shattered. And I didn't know where I was, I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of in this state of complete disarray, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do. So what happened was I started with my first step into finding your flow, which is deep listening. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to pay attention. I didn't want to look around. I just wanted to hole up and not do anything ever again. But I took some time and I really listened to what not just I needed, but what the broader world needed. And this was when I was still teaching school. So I found that in my interactions with youth, in my interactions with children, they kept revealing these things to me about myself. They are perfect mirrors, and I feel like we're all mirrors for one another. But I feel like in working with children, they don't really have all the filters that we have as adults. So their mirrors are a lot cleaner. Right? They haven't been subjected to all of the judgments and all of the terror that a lot of us as we grow up continue to assume upon us. So in reflecting with my children, I found that my gift was in laughter. My gift was in creating contexts wherein they could be free, and when I set them free, I set myself free. Because I wasn't ever in the system as a English teacher or a math teacher. I was always an art teacher, and it was let me teach you what you want to do. And what that means is you have to listen, not to me. I'm your teacher, but you need to listen to yourself, right? And in that experience, I learned how to listen to myself. So things that I paid attention to, synchronicity. What are these things that are popping up that seem completely unrelated, but in your brain makes sense, right? Sometimes it's seeing orange 4 times in one day. Sometimes it's a bird landing on your car. Sometimes it's a certain song that comes on the radio when you least expect it. And in those moments of synchronicity and like serendipity, I think that those are the points you really have to pay attention to. Those little surprises that cue you into something deeper working in the universe. And I feel that when we start cueing into the synchronicities, when we start cueing into our intuition, we actually are cueing in not to our ego, the defense, right? The defense against all this, the onslaught of terror and doubt. But we start cueing into the deeper self. And once we reach that deeper self, that's when we can actually start working. Because we're not working from a space of fear. We're not working from a space of defense. We're not working from a space of, look at me, and look at how great I am, and look at all these things I'm doing, and look at how hard I'm working, and look at how much I do. When we dig past the ego and get to the true self, that self is the one that should be working. That's the one that can be in the state of flow. And when we're in the state of flow, it's not necessarily about us anymore. What are we doing here, not just for us, but for the universal good? And I find that the blockages that occur for a lot of artists are when we're too much in our ego. I need to submit to this gallery. If I don't submit to this gallery, then I'm no good. I need to be in this show. If I'm not in this show, I'm no good. I have to be the biggest and the best right out of the gate. Otherwise, I'm nothing. That's ego. That's ego. That's not the true self. The true self understands that no matter what I'm doing, no matter how small, no matter like baby steps, me working in the teeniest, tiniest school with all of these children, no matter how small it was, nobody paid attention, nobody cared, but I knew that these steps were necessary to the greater good because I wasn't working from a space of ego. I was listening to something deeper. And when I got into my true self, that's when I started to ask the right questions. And once I got to my true self, it wasn't all of a sudden like, okay, now you're good, now you're set. Now you can, carry on and do the thing and be an artist. Once I reached that, I was like, oh my God, I'm terrified. I see you, artist self. I'm terrified, scared. Because I know what I need to do, but I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know how this is going to be a thing. Do I really have to be a clown? Is that a thing? Is that me? And I took a long, hard look in the mirror and I was like, okay. And I started to unpack all of the fear. What am I afraid of? Failure? Success? Judgments? What about not being listened to? What about not being seen? What about not being given a chance? What about being laughed at? I realized all these things were things that, again, my roots, right? Back to children. Children felt all of these things. And so now when I would teach them, I want you to paint what you want to paint. I want you to paint what you feel. I want you to paint, even if you think it's terrible, I want you to paint. And I want you to be whatever it is that you want to be. And that kept ringing in my head as like those messages were to myself. It's scary. Trust me, I did not plan on being this. Well, what happens when you feel that fear is you got to feel it, right? You feel the fear, and you do the goddamn thing anyway. Right? I may not know why, but I know due to the synchronicities, due to the opportunities, due to the messages and the weird serendipitous moments that this is what I'm supposed to be. So what did I do? I put on a clown face for the first time in my life. I had no idea what I was doing. I put on a clown hat and I submitted this image of myself as a clown, not this one, but a clown face, my first clown face, to a clown camp in Minnesota. This is what I'm going to do. There we go. And when I did that, I got a scholarship. Again, there was no history of me knowing anything about clowns, but I submitted, got a scholarship, went out there and realized this is my line of work. This has always been my line of work. It just took 27 years to find it. So I was afraid. I did the goddamn thing anyway. And what happened was I learned that clowning was not just about a costume, and it wasn't just about a face, it wasn't just about juggling or unicycling, it was about connection. At the root of everything, clowning is about connection. Reaching people on a level that they've forgotten. Often it's the child self again. Do you remember what it's like to feel free? Look at me. Like, I'm not afraid to run into walls. I'm not afraid to trip. I'm not afraid to look like a fool, because at the end of the day, we're all fools. We all feel this fear. We all feel the same thing. We all fear judgment. We all fear looking like an idiot. And I'm just here to be a reminder that it's okay. It's okay to look like an idiot. Because really, that's where our humanness lies. It's like navigating this universe that doesn't make any sense and somehow finding meaning in all of the mess, right? So, fear. Another thing that is within fear is the fear of money, right? Money, not having enough money. How do I do all of these things without money? How do I travel without money? How do I paint without money? How do I create without money? How do I connect without money? How do I do these things? Money, like, runs our world, and I need it. I need it. If I don't have it, then I'm nothing. And I find that in believing in scarcity brings more scarcity. And I find that especially true here in Salt Lake City, right? There's not enough. There's not enough money for the arts. There's not enough artists. There's not enough. And I think that in order to create more and be more and actually have the kind of communities that we want to have, we have to start believing in more than money. Because yeah, it's just not there. But that doesn't mean that we can't grow roses in concrete. What that means is that we have to start connecting, we have to start collaborating, we have to start talking, we have to start having the conversations we don't necessarily believe we're worthy of having yet, right? And that goes back to fear. I have to be brave enough to approach the person that is in a state of power to be like, hey, I know I'm a clown, but I have something really important to say, and I have something really important to do, and if you could just help me out, could just have a conversation. And I find that these conversations actually lead to more conversations that eventually change the vibration around us. And then all of a sudden I have all the work. I can't keep up. The least likely thing, and I can't keep up with it. Whenever I travel, people are like, you're not really a clown. I wish I could say that. I'm really a clown. I really do this. I do this all the time. This is my work. And it doesn't always look like this. This is my work. And it's because I was brave enough to believe in something that wasn't there. So we have to say yes. Yes to community. Yes to collaboration. Yes to connection. We have to be brave enough to do that. Because again, the world wants us to isolate. The world wants us to be selfish. The world wants us to say, mine, yours, mine, yours, my property, my fence, my garden, my car, mine. But we have to start sharing. We have to start collaborating. We have to start listening. We have to start talking. We have to start connecting again. And how are you? Good. How's your day? Good. How's your life? Good. How's your job? Good. That doesn't get to the heart of the matter. Often I find that in clown, people are a lot more honest with me. I don't know why. They just are a lot more honest. I was doing a mime gig One time I wasn't saying anything, and there was a child that was afraid of me, sitting like approximately in that little white chair. He was just staring. He wasn't sure what to do with someone who didn't have a face in the way he thought. And I waved at him, not saying anything. And his father sat next to him and said, "It's okay. Some people speak with their mouths, and some people speak with their hearts. There's a lot of power in silence. There's a lot of power in looking at someone and reflecting back what they've forgotten." So then we get to, what the hell are you doing here, right? What the hell? What the hell am I doing here? I'm here to clown. I found that out. Thank God. But that doesn't mean that one day I might retire this person, this character, right? This particular character, this is one of my stock clowns. I don't have many, and I'll get to that in a minute, but this one is a stock clown. Her name is Lady Fingers. She's a puppeteer. And she specifically is a vaudevillian, so she tells stories through miniature clowns. And they're all like universal stories, but they're universal stories made personal, right? And I feel like that's something that I can do through this medium, but someday I might have to retire. But for now, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So then we have to start asking ourselves, what the hell am I doing? Look in the mirror. What are you doing here? Are you here to be are you truly here to be a secretary? There's nothing wrong with being a secretary. My mother is a secretary. But she always wanted to own her own boutique. I've had long discussions. Hey, Mom, why don't you own a boutique yet? Why don't you do that? Oh, because there's no retirement, and I'm scared. I'm like, but what are you meant to be doing here? What are you here for? I don't think it's that. And I think we lose track of what we're really here for. And so having those moments of asking these hard questions. I'm here to be a painter. I'm here to paint. You ask children, what are you here to do? What are you here to do? And their answers are as wild and crazy and beautiful and random as you could possibly imagine. I'm here to be a penguin. You be the best penguin you can be. What are you here to do? Right? And you ask them, what are you here to do? I'm here to help all of the animals. All of them, every single one. Okay. I'll believe you. What are you here to do? I'm here to be an astronaut. Yes, I am. And I feel like we're told not to do that, not to stop believing in that, to check in with reality, right? And I encourage you to not let that go. Because that stops your flow. When someone says, that's unrealistic, that's not real. You can't do that. And I find that that's part of the reason why I became a clown. Oh, I can't be a boy? Watch me. I can't be a zombie pinup girl? Watch me. I can't be the most badass rodeo clown you ever saw? Watch me. The power of the clown is that all of the characters are available to me. And so when I would, again, have these children tell me all of these fantastic, beautiful, amazing things, I remember these stories and I remember their faces. And I remember what that felt like for them. And I get to do that when I'm done. I didn't ask for this job, really, but it's a dream job. And I feel like we forget how uniquely special we are. I had a professor once tell me, Madison, you are not a snowflake. Do you understand what I mean? Have we all heard the snowflake story? Each one of you are beautiful, and there's no other snowflake like you. Every snowflake is different. And he was just like, you're not a snowflake. You're not a snowflake. You're not important. Your paintings are crap. You never. Do you even know why you're here? Do you even know what you're doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm a painter. I'm definitely a painter. And I feel like You know, as much as like that snowflake story is made fun of, and as much as it's dismantled, I really do feel like we forget what makes us unique, what makes us individual, what makes us special. Because who else is going to deliver this message? You have a message that's different than mine. 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 If you don't do it, who's gonna do it? Who's gonna do it? Nobody can do what you can do. And if you don't share whatever it is you have to share, whether that's art, dance, music, film, photography, communication, lecturing, education, whatever it is, if you don't share that, you're doing us a disservice. And not just us, the universe a disservice, because there is no story like your story. And how are we supposed to learn anything if we don't share our stories, our truths? These universal things made personal. This pain of being a human right now, right? These deep wounds that we all feel, how are we supposed to move through this if we don't share it? If we don't reflect it back to one another and say, yes, I feel that too. I understand you. I may not understand each and every step, but I feel that too. We've got to start sharing our stories, and we have to start believing that we have things that are important enough to say. Which is like with your opening and the blogs and learning how each one of us, like, we all have access to these things. And I believe we reach the people that are meant to be reached, however big or however small, right? So you have to be aware of your uniqueness and not be afraid of knowing you're unique. And then also listening to that uniqueness and following it, whether you know exactly where it's going to be. You don't always know what's around the corner. But you have to be brave enough to follow the little crazy snippets in your brain that say, this is something important. So back to my state of flow. Again, the most freedom I have is in clown. And there's a lot of theories that go into this work. My personal theory is that when I put on the white, I am assuming an ego death. I kill off my ego. Because when we die, we lose all of our blood and we pale out, right? We lose our color. So when I put on the clown face, I lose all my color. I am no longer the ego, and I try to touch base with my deeper self. Every time I do it, it's a ritualistic practice. And it seems kind of weird, but when I go out there and I learn these things, especially with mask workers or dancers, there's always some sort of practice to get them into the flow. To dismantle this regular everyday self and get to the deeper self. And when I do this, when I get behind me and I touch base with the self, all of a sudden I become a channel for the universal truth, right? And this is, it really is like I'm not me anymore. People ask, how can you be both? How can you be both Madazon, super shy, super awkward, terrible dresser, and Madazon, this fabulous thing, right? This fabulous caricature of femaleness or maleness or clowning or the 20s or the 60s or whatever I need to be, I can put it on. How does that happen? It's because I get into the flow, I get into the channel of the universe. And each and every gig that I do, like I said, I have very few stock clowns. This is one of them, but most of the clowning that I do is created around the event. So if I'm doing an event for seniors, then they want something that's going to bring them back to a happier time. I could be a swing clown. I can learn how to swing dance. I can bring certain things, certain music that would connect them to that. If I'm working with children in a hospital, I'll do something different for that. And there's always this like whenever I'm working is reaching into my closet and finding this, like, again, colors, pieces, scarves, shoes, everything is created unique for that event, and it's because I'm in touch with the deeper channel. Clowning, again, is all about connection, that human connection. And I had a discussion, I've had many discussions like this, where it's like, you're the only clown I'm not afraid of. So because I'm the only clown you've ever really met. There's a lot of people that will put on the costume and will put on the face, but not necessarily know why they're doing it. And I feel like there's a resurgence of clowning, not necessarily in Salt Lake. There's a couple of us, but there's clowning is growing in popularity. And I think part of that is the need to connect again. And whenever I talk to clowns out of state, it's always the same conversation. We're here to connect, we're here to connect, we're here to play. We're here to help people remember, we're here to stimulate the childlike wonder. We're here to touch base with innocence so that we can have hope again. So that we can forget for just a moment the terror out there, but then we can have these moments where we know that there's still good in a dark and dreary world. There's a lot of power in silliness, and I feel like people just laugh it off. I feel like there's many people who see me. See you, clown. I see you. I know what you're doing. And then there's people that don't. And they'll run. And they'll flee. And they'll point and they'll laugh and they'll say, it, and they won't actually get to the meat. If people just spend a little bit of time, it changes them. I was in Denver, and we had a brunch after my shows. And there was a man who sat across from me, and he looked at me and he said, hey, I think I might want to be a clown. How does that work? I'm like, well, what's your name? Jared. Like, that won't do. That's your real name, that's your clown name. What's the name of your true self? What's in there? What do you want to say? And I just listened to him and was really open. We were very excited. He got into all of these stories and all of the things he could do and all of the moments he could make jokes out of and everything that he could do to like connect and make people laugh and be on stage and have a spot for him to be seen. It just took a moment of him being brave enough to ask me, because he was not comfortable about it. He was like, and then he came out and he was like, I was terrified of clowns. I was absolutely terrified of clowns. Anything to do with clowns as a child. And I've seen clowns. He said it, not me, I didn't say it. He was like, I think clowns are gonna change the world. I think that they're gonna be the thing that helps save us. I'm like, well, I'm glad you think so, because somebody's gotta believe in this. And I think you're one of us. I think everybody has a clown. I've been talking a lot about, in my other shows, I've been talking a lot about vulnerability. I don't think that we can connect unless we're vulnerable. I don't think that we can be authentic unless we're vulnerable. Again, because it's the ego, it's the shield, right? We're usually talking to the ego. We're usually talking to the shield. But what we all crave is talking to the true self. What we all crave is talking to the heart of the person. I know that there have been moments when you're having a conversation with people and all of a sudden you really sit in, you really check in, you feel this is the real person I'm talking to. Got through it. I knocked on the door enough times, like, how are you? Good. No, how are you really? I'm fine. Well, you're fine, but like, I know you've been going through some stuff. I know that there's seen your partner, seen your children, what's going on, what's really going on? Well, Charlie's struggling in school, his teacher doesn't understand him, and then we really start sitting with the person. We can't get anywhere if we're not vulnerable, and we can't be vulnerable unless we get through the fear. And we all feel it. We all feel that moment of like, okay, I could actually have a conversation with this person where I could just go on. And I feel like we need to come to a point in ourselves where we can move through the fear and connect. And in that connection, we connect deeper to ourselves. And when we connect deeper to ourselves, we check in with the flow. Flow, 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 flow. Between one another, the flow between us and society at large. And then once we can connect with our flow, then we can connect with more art. The flow is just all about creativity. That's what we all want to do. We're all born to create. We're all born to create and put out what we have in our unique, special way. Now, for me, whatever I teach, I always instruct students of every kind to find their stage. Right? All the world's your stage. I call it apart, and it doesn't have to look like this, but find the place where you're seen. Maybe that's a community of crazy artists. Maybe that's a community of 3 who are all into this one thing, like clown. Maybe it's just 3 people. Find your stage. Find it, find it, find it. Find it in a person. Find it in a park. Find it in the mountains. Find it with your dog, for goodness sake. If your dog will pay attention to you while you're delivering a poem, goddamn, do it. Find your stage, because there is no greater gift than the gift of a stage. And when I tell my students this, I say, when you're playing and when you have an opportunity, it doesn't matter how big, how small, how many people are watching you, you're being watched. And that gift of witnessing, you cannot pay enough money to be witnessed, to be really seen in yourself, in whatever special thing you have. Do you know what it's like to have a 7-year-old stand up and deliver a monologue, and they forget all the lines, and they do this, and then you're like, you still clap for them. You still clap for them, you still say, good job, and they come off and they're like, that was the greatest thing I've ever done. I feel so good. I did such a good job. I'm so great. And like, you changed their world. And you didn't have to do much. You just had to watch them. You just had to give them your attention, give them your heart for 3 minutes. See them. Children these days are hungry, and I don't think it's just children, but children especially are hungry for attention. Hungry to just have eye contact, to just be seen, and to just know that there's something special inside them, that they are worth the time. And I would say, all of us have these little children inside us, and we all are worth the time. If nobody's going to give it to you, you got to give it to yourself. You got to give yourself the time to find out what you're listening to find out what's important to you, to find out what the hell you're doing here, why you're unique, what you have to say, and you have to find your stage. Because if you don't do it, nobody is going to do it for you. And that's just the reality. You had lived your whole life and don't write that novel. You live your whole life and don't do that show. You live your whole life and don't say the thing that you're meant to say. You're taking it from us. Taking it from children. Taking it from friends. For people who need it. You never know what's in there that's just going to move someone. So I feel it is our responsibility as humans to share, to connect, to be brave enough, and to find it. It's like a treasure hunt, right? What is my next step? What is my next goal? What am I doing next? What am I creating next? How am I gonna figure out what the next step in my journey is? And it's not always easy to find that answer. So when you're in the state of flow, or when I am, I feel like we're making the universal truths of humanity, of being this human being, of being in a body, with a heart, a brain, and a soul. I feel like we're making all of these universal things personal. And in making it personal, go back to making it universal. It's this beautiful cycle, this beautiful ebb and flow. And sometimes you're receiving, watching, witnessing, and sometimes you're giving and you're being watched. But no matter what you're doing, it's a mirror. I had a friend I visited yesterday. It was so perfect. She had a tapestry that said connection on her wall. And I was like, oh man, this is what I'm writing on. This is what I'm all about. This is my work. This is what I want to talk about. And the tapestry said, it is only through one another we are able to see our true selves. I am you, as you are me. Without each other, we are nothing. We can't create in a vacuum. We can't create in a void. We need each other. And we need to be brave enough to find each other. So to put it all together in a real simple package for everybody. Flow is deep listening to things that aren't necessarily words, colors, animals, symbols, serendipitous moments. It's feeling afraid, doing it anyway. Knowing in your heart that you have to do this. You can be terrified, and that's fine. If you know you need to do the thing, do the goddamn thing. 3. Knowing what the hell you're doing here. What the hell are you doing? Sometimes it's looking like shit and talking about why Planned Parenthood is important. Sometimes it's making a child feel important for 3 minutes of his life. Sometimes it's doing a puppet show in a restaurant that's about to close down and there's a leak in the roof and you can't do anything about it, but people are still there to see you and you're still there to do the job. And a week later it closes down and you're never going to see that place again. Sometimes it's traveling through time. Or finding your art, your purpose, whatever it is. Art, your creative flow, your creation. What is it? 5, giving the gift of yourself to the world. You've got it. You've got it. There's nobody else that can do it but you. It's your responsibility, your civic responsibility, I would say, to us, to share yourself. And then 6 brings it back around. Reciprocal. Receiving. Receiving. Listening. Listening is a kind of receiving. Right? And then we go through it again. We can move through it again. And we can reinvent. We can reinvent and we can adapt. If it's not working, because trust me, sometimes it doesn't work, we adapt. Again and again and again and again. Until we can make it work. Thank you so much for listening. That's my talk and flow, y'all. Thanks for sharing.